In this video, I'll be covering problems 6 and 7, 6, 7, and 8 rather, to finish up Unit 2 test review on function operations and compositions and inverses. Number 6 says, Michael and Mary are not agreeing on their answers in finding the inverse of h of x equals the opposite of the square root of x minus 5 squared minus 7. Check over their work and decide who is correct and explain where the incorrect student made their mistake. So in comparing Michael's work, if this was our function, h of x equals this, our first step we know is to change h of x, or whatever it's named to, in function notation to y. So that looks correct. Everything's copied correctly except the x and the y, or the h of x is changed to y. Second step, switch x and y. That looks good. Then we need to start solving for y. So if I'm looking over here on the right side, I know that I need to undo this minus 7 by adding 7. So I would do plus 7, plus 7. Whoa, what did Michael do? It looks like Michael moved the minus 7 over and did not do it by adding. So there's a mistake. So let's circle that. That continues, he keeps doing the minus 7, making his answer completely wrong. It looks like it probably would have been correct maybe if it had been plus, let's see, x minus 7, then, let's see, oh, whoa. It looks like he also distributed the y. That's not correct. You don't distribute the y. You should have divided by a negative. So that's incorrect also. So let's put a little note over here. Michael should not have distributed the negative. And the reason why is because order of operations says you have to square before you multiply, and distributing is multiplication. So that's an incorrect step also. So he just messed that one up. He messed up here, should have added. He should have added there, and Michael should not have distributed the negative here. That's not correct either. So let's go over here and compare Mary's work. Looks like she wrote down her y equals. She switched her x and y. She needed to add 7. That was good. She added 7. She divided by a negative. So think about what happens when you divide by a negative. So this was a positive x divided by a negative, which changed it to negative x. And a 7 divided by a negative 1 is a negative 7, so that's correct. Looks like she took the square root of both sides next. So she's got the square root of the quantity negative x minus 7. That looks good. Then she should add 5. She added 5, so that looks good. And she did remember to put her plus or minus when she took the square root. So all in all, that looks really good. So Mary's is correct, and Michael, these are where he made his 2 mistakes. So moving on to 7 and 8, you're asked to graph each function, its inverse, and their line of symmetry, and label each function and inverse on the graph. Be sure to include tables. So when I go to graph f of x equals 3x plus 5, this is a linear function, so I know I should use 5 as my y-intercept, and then 3 over 1 is my slope, so I can go up 3 over 1. I can also go down 3, back 1. Down 3, left 1, down 3, left 1, down 3, left 1. And there's my line. I'm going to use the side of my phone, I think, here. Make my line straight. And it says to include tables, so I'm going to make a table of values for this function. And this is my f of x. I'm going to label it because it says label each function. So put my f of x up there. And ordered pairs. So I came up with, I'll just grab maybe 4 ordered pairs. So I have negative 3, negative 4, negative 2, negative 1, negative 1, 2, 0, 5, and 1, 8. That's good. And then I have to find the inverse. It says, so I've graphed each function, now I need to find its inverse. So I'm going to do this as, I'll put up here f of x and this f inverse of x. And what we should know is that if we can create a table of values, I can switch those ordered pairs around. So I'm going to take my y list and rewrite it as my x list. Just be mindful also, if you have trouble generating ordered pairs to start graphing, you can also go up here and type in 3x plus 5 and get some ordered pairs that way. So I get some ordered pairs, and let's see if these ordered pairs are up there. Yep, -3, -4, -2, -1, -1, 2, 0, 5, 1, 8. So now that I have these ordered pairs, I'm going to graph them. So I've got -4, -3. So -4, -3. -1, -2. 2, -1. 5, 0. And 8, 1. And I'm going to take my straight edge again, my phone, connect them to form my line. And of course I need to label, so I'm going to label this one f inverse of x. Okay? So have I done everything I needed to do? I've graphed my function, I graphed its inverse. Oh, I got to do the line of symmetry. We should know that our graph should be symmetric about the line y equals x. So there's my y equals x. So now I've graphed the line of symmetry. I've labeled my functions, f of x and f inverse of x, and I created my tables. There's f of x and f inverse of x. So I'm completed that problem. So number 8, it says I've got g of x equals -2x squared minus 3. So because that's a little different, I'm just going to go ahead and type this in to y equals and get some ordered pairs that I know can fit between -10 and 10. So let's see. I've got, if I do f of x here, my table for x and y for my function, I'm probably going to do -2, -11. It's off the graph a little bit, but it's not, it's manageable. 1, -5, and 2, -11, and I want to graph these. So if I go -2, -11, that's just down just a hair. -1, -5, 0, -3, 1, -5, it should be symmetric, 2, -11, and then I can connect it. We should already know that we should get a parabola. And by the way, if you don't know if your graph is coming out right, you should just hit graph on your calculator, and what you draw should be matching what's in your calculator. So there I go for f of x, and of course I want to make sure I label it because you'll get points for that. Now let's do f inverse of x. Well, again, we should know that all we have to do is take these ordered pairs and switch them. So I'm going to take my y's and copy them down for my x's. My x's, copy them down for my y's, and graph. So I've got -11, -2, -5, -1, -3, 0, -5, +1, and -11, +2. So this time my parabola opens left. And there's my graph of f inverse of x. So have I done everything? Did I graph the function? Yes. Did I graph its inverse? Yes. Oh yeah, I got to do my line of symmetry. So let's go through here, and at y equals x, draw that dotted line, label it y equals x. I've labeled my function and its inverse. There's my f of x, there's my f inverse of x, and I've included my table, so I'm all done. All right, that concludes the review for test 2. Good luck. Shut up.